When I first broke into sports writing, I envisioned a career of front row seats, glamorous interviews, and championships. I never imagined occupational hazards. I learned that lesson the hard way on a fall afternoon in 2014. And let me tell you, physics can be a cruel mistress. I was covering a high school golf match at a scenic course tucked along the Mississippi River bluffs. No stuffy gymnasiums, no muggy press boxes, just me, a golf cart, and nature. I hiked out 50 yards into the fairway to get a great angle for a photo. I stood completely on the backside of a right handed golfer. The laws of science said the odds of him hitting me were roughly the same as winning the lottery. Then this teenager swung, completely defied sports logic, and launched a drive at terminal velocity straight into my belly. Did I survive the impact? Or did a high school golfer take out a local journalist? Watch to find out. I'm Bill Roseberry. After a 20-year career in community journalism, I've seen my share of wild headlines, but this is the first time I was the subject matter. When I first broke into sports writing, I envisioned a career of glamorous interviews and front row seats to glory. I never imagined the dangers. I learned the lesson the hard way one fall afternoon in 2014. And let me tell you, physics can be cruel. I was stoked to cover a quadrangular match at Lockhaven Golf Course, meeting 4 high school squads squaring off in a 9-hole showdown. Lockhaven is a scenic beauty tucked away off the Great River Road, nestled at the foot of the bluffs along the Mississippi. It had been an exclusive country club since 1956, only transitioning to a public course the year prior. This was my first time stepping onto the grounds, and as I crept up the winding drive in my maroon Ford Escape, I was wide-eyed, taking in the rolling green hills and tree-lined holes. However, as a guy who appreciates details, I noticed the public transition had been a bit rocky. There were dead spots in the fairways and greens that suggested the country club glory days were firmly in the rearview mirror. I found a parking spot near the clubhouse, climbed from my ride, and geared up. Being a community newspaper journalist means being a pack mule. My black backpack was strategically stuffed with the essentials: a digital camera, multiple lenses, a stack of notepads, a plethora of pens, and my trusty tape recorder. I was a jack of all trades: photographer, writer, and unofficial local sports expert and historian. I took a moment to inhale the fresh rural air. It was an intoxicating mix of clubhouse flowers, old trees, and a quaint tranquility. The cool fall breeze felt like a soothing balm. Honestly, golf quads were the best assignments. No strict tee times, no stuffy gymnasiums, no muggy press boxes, just me and a cart enjoying nature. After flashing my credentials in the clubhouse to earn cart keys, I checked the scoreboard to see where the number ones were currently playing. You always start with the top talent. I caught up to them quickly and followed them to the next tee box, which sat perched on a hill surrounded by dense woods. I parked the cart, snapped on a lens for distance shots, and traipsed a little over 50 yards onto the fairway to find the perfect angle. This was going to be a cool vantage point. I set up at the edge of the woods, standing at a wide angle for safety. Or so I thought. As the first kid stepped up, a right-hander from a school I wasn't even covering, I figured I'd use him for a little target practice to get my timing down. I was in position to shoot the lefty I needed, who was set to tee off next. I spread my stance, raised the camera to my eye, and felt completely secure. I was positioned on the righty's backside. Physics said the odds of him hitting me were roughly the same as me winning the lottery. Then, the unthinkable happened. This teenager stepped up, swung, and in a move that defied the laws of both sports and logic, completely opened his stance. As my camera began its rapid fire, I didn't see a follow through. I saw a projectile. A horrific pain exploded in my midsection as this buffoon ripped a line drive directly into my breadbasket. Fuck! I roared, the scenic quiet of the bluffs shattered. Son of a bitch! Giggles erupted from the tee box. Well, from everyone except young Happy Gilmore, who had just used the sports writer's belly for target practice. Let me be clear. A golf ball screaming off a driver at terminal velocity does not tickle. Are you okay, sir? I'm so sorry, sir. The kid squeaked, his voice cracking with puberty and terror. It's okay. Just give me a minute. I wheezed, doubled over and waving a hand like a fallen marathon runner. My first thought wasn't my spleen, it was my gear. Luckily, the camera is all right, I thought as the sting slowly faded into a dull throb. Once the gallery realized I wasn't going to expire on the fourth hole, the laughter intensified. I even joined in, leaning into the absurdity. Damn, kid, that was a hell of a tee shot, I shouted sarcastically, which brought huge laughs from the kid's contemporaries, but not him. A consummate professional, I finished my job, chasing down other groups while my adrenaline masked the looming bruise. By the time I hit the clubhouse, I was a local celebrity. The belly shot had already reached legendary status. Moms were checking my vitals while coaches and dads razzed me relentlessly. When the poor kid finally walked in, his face was a permanent glowing shade of crimson. As I started sifting through my frames, I found the crown jewel. It was a masterpiece of bad luck. A perfectly timed shot of the ball making a beeline straight for my lens. His stance was so wide open, he was practically facing me. It was the single worst golf shot I had seen in 8 years of reporting. It even surpassed my pathetic attempts at shots as a lackluster golfer myself. What terrible form, I thought. What an awful shot. I strolled over to his table and showed his team the evidence. They roared. His face turned an even darker shade of red, if that was physically possible. I think you need to work on your driving a little bit, I directed with a grin. The next morning, I awoke to a beautiful souvenir. My midsection featured a purple, blue, and yellow circle the size of a softball that was quite sore. It was a badge of honor I showed off to friends, family, and colleagues for a week, much to their hysterical delight. A week later, I showed up to cover the sectional tournament where my old pal was putting his terrible skills on display again. As I walked into the clubhouse, the group from Lockhaven spotted me. I wasn't just a guy with a notepad anymore. I was met with rousing applause, whoops and hollers, and a sheepish grin from my red-faced buddy. I guess after nearly a decade in the business, I'd finally reached legendary status. Like they say, you've got to pay your dues and suffer for your art. My purple belly was living, breathing proof. When I staggered back to the clubhouse that day, I was a local celebrity. The belly shot reached legendary status, and the next morning I woke up with a softball-sized bruise. But hey, as the saying goes, you have to suffer for your art. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been a spectator at a sporting event and ended up part of the action? Drop your craziest sports mishaps in the comments below. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and make sure you're back here next week for more original content. Speaking of original content, this story is a little bit different from what I've been doing because it comes from my years as a sports editor and journalist. With 2 decades in the business, I mastered the art of interviewing people, digging deep into their memories and finding the extraordinary stories hidden in ordinary life. And now, I want to do that for you. I am officially launching Bill Roseberry Stories written for you. This is a brand new custom service where you and I will sit down for a one-on-one interview. You give me your favorite family memories, childhood adventures, or wild life stories, and I will use my professional journalism skills to flush those memories out into a beautifully crafted narrative short story that you can keep forever or pass down to your kids. Your memories deserve to be told the right way. Click the link in the description below to sign up and let's get your story written. And I'll see you next week with another original fact or fiction feature right here at Bill Roseberry Stories.